I've never been one to speak on politics at all on this channel. You will see the theme is all about entrepreneurship and just growing as an entrepreneur. But I've come to a realization that here in South Africa, as an entrepreneur, what the government does or how politics is set up in the country does affect me as an entrepreneur, and surely it affects you too as an entrepreneur. We have many things that are going wrong in this country that are affecting us very negatively. And I want to discuss a few that I, in my limited knowledge, know and have been observing through experience and, of course, through a little bit of research. Before making this video, I thought to myself, nah, this is not the kinds of topics that I cover in my channel, and it will really be deviating. But this is an important thing that we have to discuss as entrepreneur. And when I say as entrepreneur, I am not talking to black entrepreneurs, colored entrepreneurs. I'm not talking to white people. I am talking to South Africans. And I'm also talking to the foreign nationals that are getting wealthy here in South Africa. Our politics is negatively affecting us grossly, and it's going to continue happening for a long time unless a change happens. I also have a confession to make. I have never registered as a voter in South Africa, and I have never voted. The reason I have never voted is because for a long time I always had the belief that the politics cannot do anything to me as long as I am self employed, and it cannot affect me negatively or positively no matter what they do. But it has been proven to me and many other people that we are very wrong about this. It is not a fact. The fact is that whatever happens in government, whatever happens in the cabinet, affects you whether positively or negatively, but mostly negatively. We have a very high unemployment rate in the country. People are always looking for jobs, looking towards government to create employment, and it is clear that that is not happening. It has not happened for the last 28 years, which is how old I am, and we are going to almost 30 years. And the government governing power that we have in the country is ANC, and it's been leading the country since 1994, and we have regressed as a country. However, I still do believe that South Africa is one of the best countries in the continent of Africa to get wealthy and get rich. You see this with big institutes, big companies coming to invest in South Africa. While some are pulling back, some are still doubling down into investing in South Africa. Because South Africa, number one, is a consumer country. So it is great if you are a capitalist and you want to make money in the country. We see big companies like Amazon setting up the big offices in the country, and they are trying to monopolize the market per se, competing with some of the biggest companies such as Takealot or Bid or Buy in the country. There are many other businesses that are coming in to invest in the country because it is a great place to get wealthy. But as a small business owner who also wants to build a business that is going to potentially be big and they be super wealthy, we are very much affected by what our government does. And it's about time that we wake up to that and we act. And by act, I mean that we act in a way that will be, in a long term, effective and good for us. Because over the past 28 years, almost 29 now, is that the country has regressed and there is no progress. And we will only be able to see progress if, unfortunately, for some people, if you think about it, it might be unfortunate if only we remove the leadership that we have now. You see, when the lockdown happened due to the pandemic, was the first time I realized that, whoa, what the government decides happens in the country affects my business. And I was not aware that it had been affecting my business for a long time, long before the pandemic. And the pandemic is still there. However, the lockdowns are no longer happening, but we are still being affected. One of the worst things that is affecting us right now, small business owners, is load shedding, where in a day you lose 2 hours of productivity, sometimes 4 hours, and it seems as if the situation will keep on getting worse. We see reports all the time that a power station, a substation was compromised, something is not working, we fix this, the maintenance is bad. So the load shedding might go to 6 hours, it might also go to 8 hours in a day. Imagine if you lose 8 hours a day, how much worse things will be financially for your small business if only 2 hours affect you so negatively. So if you are running a quarter shop that relies on electricity. If you are like myself, have a tattoo business, relies on electricity. Although there are means of continuing business without the need of electricity from ESCOM, for example, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is a good thing. It is not at all. Because if you are a small business, you have to worry about rent. If you pay rent, you have to worry about supplies. You also have to worry about making your own money yourself so that you can be able to make a living. And if you are trying to grow it, it is much more difficult when you think about the fact that you have to pay people in order to help your business grow, let alone marketing and other things. Put that in mind, and then now you have to buy backup ways of creating power or means of creating electricity. This be generators, this be backup batteries. My mic is giving me a problem, excuse me a bit. These things are quite expensive to actually get. If you're running a small business that only makes 10,000 rands a month, you really cannot afford to buy a generator for 4,000. If it's cheaper, maybe 2,500, and you still have to buy petrol for that generator for it to work. That is extra money that you have to spend on top of spending on electricity for you to be able to run your business. So your business is really losing money by this sense. So I'm not a politician. I don't know much about politics, and what I know now is that the government that is in leadership, the government that is supposed to be doing good for us, is really failing us. And we really have to do something about it. So, as I have confessed that I've never registered to vote, in 2024, when the voting happened again, I will have to be one of the people, like it's 55% of the South African population that didn't vote, will have to register as a voter, number one, and then also vote for a different political party. Not because I prefer the political party over the ANC or anything like that. It's more of a thing that I prefer to run my business freely. I prefer to run my business not affected by what the government does, whether they loot funds for ESCOM, whether they loot funds for infrastructure or skills development, whatever it is that they do that negatively affects my business. I would prefer that that doesn't happen. And in order for that to not happen, I have to be one of the people who take it upon themselves to stand up and say, okay, I'm going to register as a voter and I'm going to vote for a different political party. And I'm not going to suggest to you what to vote for. It just depends on where you are. And no matter where you are, you already know that whether the city or the ward that you are in is ran by a DA or EFF or whatever, the NC has affected the whole country negatively. ESCOM is the pits right now, and it's getting worse. We still have 20 months, 19 months of this happening. With electrical power being a problem, the next infrastructures that are in trouble, that are going to suffer, is water in the country. Can you imagine 2 hours, or let's say 6 hours, if things progress the way they are? 6 hours of no electricity in a day. And then in that 6 hours, there's also 4 to 5 hours of no water whatsoever. Now the expenses are really going high. You see, now it's not just affecting you as a business person, as an entrepreneur, it's affecting you on a personal level. The reason I'm making this video and I'm talking about this topic, and I think I might talk about these kinds of topics in the near future as well, is the fact that now I have a family that I have to take care of. I have a baby. I'm a father. I'm a new father. And there's people who also have families. And if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're someone that is employed as well, or is just someone who wants to work a job, and you have a family that you need to take care of, understand that the government is affecting the way that you can be able to do this. And it is really time that we stand the fuck up, we inspire change, or we are truly fucked. We are truly fucked. South Africa is still one of the best countries to be in Africa, but at this rate, we are going down like most of the African countries. And once we lose the South Africa that we had, or what that we have now, and are unable to improve it, many of us will not have anywhere else to go. Can you imagine if South Africa became a mafia state, for example, as the corruption is so bad? If it continued this way, can you imagine if you are completely unable to make a living in South Africa, whether you have skills, whether you have knowledge or not? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? That's what I want to know. Where exactly do you think you're going to be able to make a living outside of South Africa? Now, there might be people who have skills that are applicable outside of the country. I myself am one of those people. But in order for me to travel to countries outside of Africa, it's going to be very expensive, number one. And then number two, I'm not just doing it for myself, I also have to take my family along with me. So there's a challenge. Now, if you are from a middle class, lower middle class, or even poor family, and you are watching this video, do you think that for you to leave this country will be possible or easy for you? I think not. So we, for the most part, have no choice but to stay in this country. But we have to work on this country, not just our government, not just our leaders, us ourselves. Because if we're saying that we are in a democratically ran country, that means that the people govern. But at this rate, the people are not governing. I am not governing. I am not doing anything. And this is the first time I am doing something. It may not be great. And I suspect that because of this type of topic so far, many people have already clicked out of this video. They're no longer watching. There's a very few of you who are watching until now. And if you are one of those people, just comment one. Or you don't have to. But if you are 1 in 10 people or 1 in 100 people who are watching up until this point, you are one of the people that also has to understand that we have to act and we have a message that we have to push out there. You have to not necessarily share this video, but have these types of conversations in your friend circles and spread the message. We have to make a change or else we are fucked. That's it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to subscribe. It's just a message I wanted to give. But more to come.